So coming up in a moment, we'll begin, but I thank you all for being members of the forum and contributing to the discussions, giving and getting help. I just think it's really awesome. I think we're up to about 40,000 posts among 5,000 topics since we've been doing this for 3 years, and I just think that's great. And I'm so thrilled to be part of a community of giving and getting help. So I'll get started now. Hi, I'm Dan Smigrod. I'm the founder of the We Get Around Network Forum. You're watching WGAN-TV live at 5. That's 5 o'clock Eastern Time. We're trying to do this Monday through Friday with a live at 5 program. We'll see if we'll be able to keep up that pace, but we're going to make a best effort. Today is Wednesday, August 23rd, and our topic today is, should I buy a Matterport camera? Now, obviously, I have a camera, but the question is, should you really buy a Matterport camera? And I thought what I would do is, as you can imagine, as being the founder of a community of 10,000 3D, VR, 360 Street View photographers, I get asked this question a lot. I get a lot of private emails or private messages or emails, and people kind of explain their particular circumstance and ask me the question, should I buy a Matterport camera? And frankly, most of the people that actually email me or call me have actually made up their mind. So I suspect that if you're tuning in order to know that answer, you probably have already made a decision, but you're kind of looking for some reinforcement about buying a camera. But I do actually have a process that I think might be helpful, that if you really do want to think about it with a little bit of an open mind of how I would answer the question. And so typically I'm trying to answer the question, should I buy a Matterport camera, for 6 different scenarios. And I'm going to take you through those different scenarios. The first is, I'm a real estate agent. The second is, I'm a real estate broker. The third is, I'm a professional photographer. The fourth is, I'm a photography enthusiast. The fifth is I'm doing something completely unrelated, and I learned about Matterport, and I want to quit my day job and do this full time. And then the sixth is really a wild card, which could be on any other topic. But generally, when I'm asked, it fits into one of these 6 categories. So anyway, why don't I start with essentially what I get. Hello, Dan. I'm a real estate agent. Should I buy a Matterport camera? I've been reading your forum. I've been all over it. I've been researching it every way to Sunday, and I'm thinking about pulling the trigger. I'd like to shoot my listings, and maybe I can generate some side business income too. So generally, the way I would respond to this question is that's great, and I think that's a really good plan for you that you're planning to buy a Matterport camera. I do have some questions. The first is, have you engaged a Matterport Pro to shoot one of your listings, and asked to watch the workflow of the photographer, and second, asked to watch the workflow of the Matterport Pro in post-production. And I think this is really a highly recommended step. I think often what happens is someone thinks they need to jump from, I think I want to do this, to I'm going to buy a camera, but kind of skip this step of first engaging a pro, finding a pro in your market to help you. And obviously we can help you. If you look at the map on the front page of the forum, you can see that we provide free referrals, and you can click through and actually, for many of the photographers, have public profiles. It's super easy and it's super fast generally to find a Matterport Pro simply by clicking through the Find a Pro link or map. And the reason I think that it's really, really important, even if you're planning to buy a camera and you're committed and you're making that last minute, I just want to make sure before I pull the trigger, that I think if you actually engage a pro, be upfront with them. I think it's if you say, hey, I'm thinking about buying a camera, or I'm planning to buy a camera, I'd like to engage you, I'd like to watch your workflow both while you're shooting and afterwards, would that be okay? That generally most Matterport photographers are going to say yes. And part of the reason, I guess, would be two things. One is not every real estate agent that wants to take a Matterport camera shoot for a test drive is actually going to want to do that. I know 3 years ago when I first bought the Matterport camera in July of 2014, and I worked with an early adopter real estate broker, and I think in her mind, and she was pretty upfront about it, that she was thinking about buying a Matterport camera to shoot her listings and as well as the agents in her brokerage. And I think after she watched me scan her house for 5 hours, even though she's a photographer and she enjoys photography and she takes pictures of her listings, she decided, no, this is not for me. I think I'd rather just engage you. So I think this is really a good. It's worth the investment. Engage your pro, have them shoot your space, and two things are going to happen as a result of that. Either one, you're going to go, wow, I love this, and go forward with your camera purchase, and now you will succeed faster because you've actually essentially have gotten your first lesson in how to set up the equipment, how to scan, and then how to do the post-production. So, what a great way to essentially pay for your first class by engaging a pro to do your to shoot a listing for you. And second, the other outcome is you really may just say, this is not for me. I really did not have any idea that it takes this much time and this much patience and attention to detail, and actually, as a Matterport Pro going through space is probably pointing out some of the challenges and how they overcome shooting stairs and mirrors and light coming through the window, and a litany of things. So that's what I would, as a first step, before you pull the trigger, engage a Matterport Pro for one of your listings to just double check, and you'll know either you want to move forward with buying a camera or you want to continue with engaging the pro. And even if you buy the Matterport camera, I think the pro will always be I think appreciative if you decide that you have referrals that you want to make, or maybe you want to engage them in first tier or second tier support, or if you're on vacation or you got too many listings all simultaneously and you need to get stuff shot, or maybe you bought the camera but somebody else is shooting and they're on vacation or they're out sick. So you've already established a relationship with a Matterport photographer, and I think that's a good thing actually for both of you. So anyway, that's kind of a long-winded answer to say, if you're a real estate agent and you're thinking about buying a Matterport camera and you go through that step, then you'll be making a confident decision and you'll likely succeed faster because you've already had your first lesson. But even if you decide to move forward without engaging a pro, I would still say, if you're an agent, and I'm going to qualify it because there actually are many Matterport pros in the We Get Around Network Forum community that are real estate agents and brokers, and they either have the camera and they're doing the Matterport scanning, or they have a member of their team doing it. So it's not unusual for a real estate agent to decide that they want to do this. I would just encourage you to say, if you have a proclivity for photography and digital, and you're comfortable, you're comfortable with working with an iPad and a laptop or a desktop, you're just, some people are kind of have a tech bent and some people don't. I tend to be pretty geeky, and I think that's probably helpful, in this process. So if you have that, if you're presently doing your still photography for your listings, you like photography, you have a comfort level with it, the cost of getting involved is not a huge barrier to you. Your return on investment, frankly, is way different than a photographer. Your return on investment is probably, can I pay for the camera, the iPad, the tripod, the hosting plan, and the related gear and accessories, over the course of, a year or two? And your answer is going to probably be, okay, it's fine. Yeah, I'll go buy a camera. I don't have to shoot a lot of scans a lot of listings to make this happen. And so I think that's a perfectly fine decision. I wouldn't dissuade you at all. I just would suggest doing that first step. Engage a Matterport Pro, and if you can't find one on the map, just reach out to me, private message me. I'm happy to locate a Matterport Pro for you. And then I think part of the process as a real estate agent to decide should you buy a camera is all the gear and accessories. So if you look on the front page of the forum, I have I think 1 quiz and 3 calculators. And I think certainly a good place to start on a calculator is actually not how much is it going to cost me to be a Matterport service provider, but how much more money can I make as a real estate agent if I am differentiating my listing presentation and have a competitive advantage versus other agents. And oh, by the way, over time that's going to change, because it's not just going to be a competitive advantage, it's what you're going to have to do just to remain on par or parity. So the first thing I would suggest is, take a look at the calculator that's on the right. I believe the question there is how much money can I make as how much more money can I make? And that essentially says that if you are able to get more listing presentations, close more listings, get more premium listings, get more and more premium listings more often, or what I in shorthand say, win more and bigger premium listings more often, then I think you'll find that it's you as an agent don't have to do all that many additional listings based on the numbers you've just calculated in order to pay for the camera and related gear. And how much is the camera and related gear? Take a look at the calculator. It's right there up on the front page. We've already kind of pre-filled in the calculator to say, here's not only the Matterport camera, but the iPad that we recommend, the tripod that we recommend, the carrying case that we suggest, the portable batteries, the shoe covers, the door. There's a whole list of stuff that we think if you're going to do Matterport that you really ought to have in your kit or in your suitcase, whatever, everything that you would bring on a Matterport project. So I think if you first check the calculator, how much more money can I make as a real estate agent, and then second, how much is it going to cost me, and then third, you've engaged a pro, that I think that will give you the comfort level to make a confident decision, and that if you do decide to go forward, that you will have a fast start. You'll likely succeed faster because of that let's call it an initial training or initial class. So anyway, that's kind of the first scenario. I'm a real estate agent. Should I buy a Matterport camera? So if you're just tuning in, this is actually a live program, WGAN-TV, live at 5. We do this Monday through Friday. Today is Wednesday, August 23rd, and I'm taking forum members through the process of should I buy a Matterport camera. And so the second scenario is I'm a real estate broker. Should I buy a Matterport camera? And it's likely that the decision might actually be easier than being a real estate agent, because you have maybe a couple other opportunities. The first is the opportunity to amortize the camera over a number of agents. So And you may already have someone in-house that's doing your media, maybe photography and other related things. And I think in addition to looking at Matterport as a way to win more and bigger listings more often, or win more and bigger premium listings more often, there's actually really a fourth benefit for a brokerage, and that's to attract more tech savvy agents. And I would imagine if you're a broker that that's something that's high on your list. While this has certainly been a people business, if 90% of all the research of buying and selling a house begins online, and people are discovering Matterport Spaces 3D tours online, then certainly if it was me, I would want to begin my my journey of buying or selling a house with a tech savvy agent. And I think over time that's only become more true. True. So again, I think if you're a real estate broker, and and if you heard my pitch to say you're on the edge of buying a Matterport camera. Before you do, engage a local pro, a local Matterport pro, and take the experience for a test drive. Totally worth the investment in finding a Matterport Pro to shoot a listing for you. And I suspect as the broker, you're not going to be the one who's actually going to be doing the scanning. I would be surprised. It's either going to be one of your agents that enjoys photography, or maybe somebody that you're going to hire and maybe train them. So I think it's actually extra important as a broker to engage a Matterport Pro. And again, if you look up at the map on the front page of the We Get Around Network forum, you'll see that we provide free referrals, and we first make it super easy and super fast to locate a Matterport Pro in your backyard. So click on the map, find a local pro, and engage one. And if there's not one in your market, or at least there's not one on the map, in all likelihood we can find one. So again, just private message me, and happy to find a Matterport Pro for you. There's no cost. We're happy to refer our members in the forum to you. But I think when you engage a pro, I would encourage you come with 2 or 3 people to that listing to watch the scanning process. First, you're the one who's ultimately making the decision to say, we're going to put a stake in the ground. Every listing of $250,000 or more, or every listing of $500,000 or more, we're going to include a Matterport Spaces 3D tour. That's going to be one of the ways that you're going to differentiate your brokerage by having some kind of offer like that. So I think it's important that you're there. Second is whomever is going to begin the process of actually doing the Matterport scans. I think again, this is an opportunity for them to see best practices, learn how to set up the camera, the gear, watch the scanning process, and then equally as important is the post-production, because there's a lot of stuff that the Matterport service provider does off-site in order to get your tour delivered to you. So I think by having an agent or 3, and when you're doing your meetings and you're trying to help sell this in to agents to participate in your brokerage. I know that's not an automatic given, since everybody is typically an independent contractor. So it might be nice to have an agent who is taking the lead to help you socialize Matterport among your other agents. And that might be you have that lead agent that would love to do this, and so you're going to buy the camera, you're going to get somebody on your team to be doing Matterport, but you still need one of your lead agents that other agents look up to say, wow, if so-and-so is doing this, then maybe I need to do this for our listings. And I think if you can get everybody as a team to agree that every listing of X dollars or more is going to include a Matterport Spaces 3D tour, then I think you'll have a lot more confidence in buying the camera, as opposed to buying the camera and having it sit in a closet and no one ends up using it, which is certainly a possibility. What's the kind of the business model? I think that's going to vary brokerage by brokerage. You might decide that you're going to subsidize the cost of a Matterport Spaces 3D tour. So if the cost is X, maybe you charge your agent a third or a half or $100. Not that that's what it's going to cost. Please, that's not what it's going to cost. But just to have the agent have some skin in the game, that you may be providing something that's worth 5 or 10 times what they're actually paying, because you believe that if every agent is using Matterport Spaces 3D tours, that you're able as a brokerage to be able to say, hey, every listing of $500,000 or more, $250,000 or more, $1 million or more, whatever it is, includes a Matterport Spaces 3D tour, then I think you're just going to be off to a better start. And I also believe that as a broker, that if you engage a local pro and you bring one of your agents and you bring the person who's likely to do the scanning, which actually may be that agent, whatever it is, you may come to the conclusion to say, no, my agent's time is better spent on business development, on sales, on being in front of clients, on door knocking, whatever it is, probably a thousand things that your agents would be better spent doing than asking them to scan their own listing, or having one of your agents scan listings and you paying them. So anyway, that's something to really give some thought to. I think there's a little bit of a paradox here, is that as Matterport continues to add features that we all get very excited about, it becomes actually a little bit more complex to use Matterport over time. And so I think that's something to think about, is the investment in time in training. And because a lot of Matterport pros are, they're reading the forum every day, they're staying up to speed. What kind of problems, what challenges, what kind of, what new features does Matterport have? And maybe even more importantly, what are all the third-party solutions of things that can be done with Matterport, of whether that's creating single property websites using WP3D models, or co-aware single property website service, or creating two-dimensional floor plans, and why one might use Blue Sketch or MP2FP or other third-party solutions. It may not be obvious that it may not make sense to actually use Matterport for floor plans, for example, because you'd rather not have their logo, you want your logo, and you don't want their colors, you want your colors. And so there's a lot of subtleties here, and I think that's one of the great things about engaging a Matterport service provider, is that they're staying up to speed on the technology, on third-party solutions, to be able to offer you more than if you simply buy the camera and have somebody focused blinders on just doing Matterport scans, as opposed to keeping abreast to learn, what's this highlights reel thing, and what is what are matter tags, and how might we use those, and these 360 photospheres that can be exported, and how do you export them, and how do you then use them with Facebook and Twitter and other social media, or GIF files, so whatever it is that either Matterport is introducing that's new, or third-party solution providers that are offering services. Generally, if you're going to engage a Matterport service provider, a professional, certainly members of our forum who are interested in learning and growing, that I think that you may find that even though you were thinking about buying a Matterport camera and the related gear, that after you go through this process of shadowing a Matterport Pro in your market to do an actual listing so you can experience the process from beginning to end, it may really be an eye-opener to say, no, we should outsource this. Let's hire a professional. We've engaged this person, this pro. We like what they're doing. This makes sense. And maybe simply decide to delay your purchase decision until you're doing enough business that you decide it makes sense to bring it in-house. So anyway, that's kind of my, should I buy a Matterport camera as a real estate agent? Should I buy a Matterport camera as a real estate broker? So thank you for bearing with me here. So if you're just tuning in, you're watching WGAN-TV live at 5. I'm Dan Smigrod. I'm the founder of the We Get Around Network Forum. And today is Wednesday, August 23rd, 2017. And today's topic is, should I buy a Matterport camera? So I think what we found is on the short answer for I'm a real estate agent and I'm a real estate broker, the answer, and you've done all your diligence, you're ready to buy the camera, you just wanted to double check with me, is that a good decision? Do I have any hesitancy? The answer is perfectly fine. You figured out your return on investment, what it's going to cost you to get started, how much more money can you make by differentiating your listing presentations using Matterport. You figured out what it's going to cost to buy all the related camera gear and training. You've engaged a local pro, you went through that process, and now you've gotten a quick start in terms of getting going with Matterport, succeeding faster. So, which kind of brings me to if the money works for a real estate agent, for a real estate broker, I know some of my fellow forum members might take issue with that, but I personally, if you are a tech savvy agent and you're a photographer, professional photographer, and like I say, we have many members that are agents and enjoy photography and shoot their listings, you'd be quite comfortable doing Matterport. For you, it's not a major decision. You don't have to have that many new incremental listings in order to cover the cost of the camera, tripod, iPad, and the related gear and accessories. So, incidentally, if you're wondering what other gear and accessories, if you look at the front page of the forum and you look for that tab about gear, let me just check what I actually write there. It says. I'm looking at the green bar on the front page of the forum, and if you go all the way over to the right, it's almost to the right, it says buy gear. So if you click on that link, the We Get Around team essentially has curated the gear and accessories that we recommend that are really part of your purchase decision, because it is that your cost is really more than just buying a camera. So anyway, okay, so that brings me to I'm a professional photographer. Should I buy a Matterport camera? That's a question that comes up frequently. I have I've had a number of conversations with Matterport with professional photographers, and call me, email me, whatever it is, and the question is, I'm a professional photographer, and should I buy a Matterport camera? And I try to ask a few questions on this, because generally the answer is going to be yes, buy the Matterport camera, but I still want to have a little bit of qualification. So the first subset for a professional photographer is you already have clients asking for or about Matterport. If they're already asking for or about Matterport, and this is an optional extra that you might add to your services, then wow, that's great. And one would hope that Matterport is doing a great job growing the space so that real estate agents and brokers are asking for Matterport, and then they the agents and brokers are looking to their trusted photographers to say, hey, I've heard about this thing, Matterport. Is that something that you can do for us? So, if you've been listening to everything I've said, I would still suggest go through, find a pro, engage a pro, have them shoot either one of the listings for one of your clients, comp it, to the agent, just simply say, hey, I want to try something new, and bring in a Matterport Pro, have them scan it. If necessary, have them scan your own, house, apartment, condo, etc. Whatever would be a typical project for you, I think that's what you would want to have engage your pro. And again, even if you're 99% likely to buy the camera, so why bother engaging a local pro? It's a great fast start to getting going with Matterport. So engage a pro, ask to watch the workflow, the whole scanning process, and then also ask to watch the post-production. And again, I encourage you to be upfront. There's no need to be sneaky. 99% of Matterport pros would be delighted to shoot for another photographer, because frankly, after you watch the process of scanning, you still may come to the conclusion that you enjoy photography, videography, drone more than scanning, and that you would prefer to pair with a Matterport Pro. And incidentally, if you'd like to find a Matterport Pro that only does Matterport and doesn't do still photography, video, and drones, and you don't see someone in your market on the We Get Around referral network map, then please reach out to me, because I could understand you might be a little bit sensitive on that topic. But frankly, there are real estate agents and brokers that have Matterport that don't do photography and video and drone, and it may be perfectly fine to pair you up with a real estate agent to be who is a Matterport Pro to actually do the scanning for you. And so that would be an example of when a client asks, do you offer Matterport, you'll be able to say yes and bring in your subcontractor, and you pay them, your client pays you, you make the difference. And you haven't invested necessarily in buying a Matterport camera, either because you don't know whether you're going to have enough business for this extra incremental expense, or scanning is not your thing, and that's a real possibility. So just because you're a professional photographer and you enjoy all this stuff, you may be turned off on this whole process of scanning. Some of us love it or compelled to scan even when we're not getting paid. There's been a number of times where I show up with my wife at a hotel or some other place, and she patiently, on our last vacation where I flew in ahead of time in order to do I actually used a different camera, but do 360s of the condo at the beach, even before my wife and my her niece arrived by car. So anyway, I digressed. Squirrel. So anyway, I just think as a professional photographer, it's not anything different than a real estate agent or a broker. Engage a local pro. We'll make it easy to find one. If you want to find one that is not doing other forms of photography because you think you might want to engage to kind of collaborate together, that's great. And frankly, I think you'd find plenty of professional photographers that would say, hey, I understand it's your client, I'm happy to do Matterport scan. If they ask me, I operate under your name, and I just don't think that's a big deal. The point is, as a professional photographer, it may make sense even for you to engage a pro to subcontract work before you make the investment, not only in the camera. You probably have all the other gear. So in your case, it's likely to just be the camera. Maybe you need, a special camera head specifically for Matterport, but you're likely to have everything else that you need. But I think it may be an investment of time, and it does take time. Now, let me give you words of encouragement as a professional photographer. I recently visited with a Matterport pro who, before he bought his camera, was a professional photographer. His clients started asking about Matterport. He bought the camera. His initial question was, how hard could this be? He did a handful of scans and essentially said, okay, I get it. I can do this. Months and months and months and months later, he's now reporting that he's still learning on every project that he does. But the point that I wanted to say is, for him, it's like, would you like fries with that? They're already engaging him for photos, for video, for aerial, and offering Matterport is just it's an upsell. Would you like fries with? You go into McDonald's, you order a hamburger. Would you like fries with that? It's an upsell. So I think you're in a really good position as a professional photographer, because you're not planning to make a living on Matterport. You're simply planning to get either incremental additional income, or make sure that your trusted clients don't start abandoning ship for another photographer in your community that is offering Matterport. So anyway, again, I'm a little bit long-winded, but I really wanted to take the time to explain this. As a professional photographer, the answer is likely yes. To buy the camera, get started, offer it as an optional extra. I might put a couple caveats in there, is to say, there isn't any reason you couldn't begin by offering Matterport without having actually bought a camera, because you've engaged a pro, you feel comfortable with the pro, and you could subcontract business until you know that you actually can generate enough business. I always think, if you can begin sales before you buy camera gear, equipment, etc., much better. And again, if you can subcontract business until you know that you really are going to be successful developing business, then I think that's a plus. I know I recently talked with a member of the WGAN Network Forum. They had asked the clients, would you buy this? Oh yes, and they bought the camera, and then they went back to clients, and the clients didn't buy. So sometimes just because you ask people, will you buy? Here's what I'm going to charge you for it, doesn't mean it's going to happen. So again, I think there's an opportunity. There are thousands of us, Matterport photographers already, that you have the benefit of being able to engage a pro, subcontract the work, determine whether there's enough business there. But again, I think as a professional photographer, this is a very, very low business risk for you. You'd probably be happy if you paid for the camera, any related gear, and your hosting contract, your Matterport cloud hosting. Again, that this would be a relatively easy decision for you. So I hope that helps as a professional photographer. If you're just tuning in, you're watching WGAN-TV live. I'm Dan Smigrod. I'm the founder of the We Get Around Network Forum. And today's topic is, should I buy a Matterport camera? And I've taken you through now 3 scenarios. 1 is I'm a real estate agent, 2 is I'm a real estate broker, and 3 I'm a professional photographer. The 4th category I'd like to take you through is I'm a really good photographer, and I'm totally geeky, and this kind of appeals to me, and I think I want to. I think I could do this because the technology doesn't seem to be all that hard. So, I love it. And so that's kind of, I don't know how to say that. Maybe that was me in July of 2014, returning to my roots of photography. I'm kind of geeky. This camera, I've been doing 360 spherical photography. I've been doing post-production of stitching images together. Oh my gosh, this Matterport thing makes this whole process super easy and super fast. I can do 200 scans in a day and go to sleep and wake up in the morning and all the scans are stitched together. Oh, that's like, that was probably me. And, interestingly, I'm going to tell you, if that's you, I would not buy a Matterport camera, or I'd have a lot of concerns because you're approaching this as you're falling in love with the technology as opposed to, can you develop business? So I would be really hesitant. Even I don't make a living. Surprisingly, here I am. I'm the founder of the We Get Around Network Forum, a community of 10,000 3D, VR, 360 street view photographers, 100 plus countries. I don't make a living as a Matterport photographer. We scan occasionally, but we don't do a lot. It's hard to develop business, and frankly, I do make a living from running a almost free for nearly everyone community. So maybe I'm kind of an outlier in that I was successful buying a camera as a photographer, as a geeky photographer, returning to my roots of photography after a 20 plus year career in television and entertainment marketing. And maybe just my own grit and determination is I figured out how to make a living actually helping other Matterport service providers succeed faster and this whole process of giving and getting help in the forum. But if I was me today trying to advise me in July of 2014, looking back, I probably would have said, no, that's just not a good decision. You don't know anything about real estate agents and brokers. You don't understand this space, and you don't understand it's really hard. And you're talking to independent contractors who, you're asking them to, part with a little bit of money to help them make a lot more money, and it's actually harder than you think. My expectations were, there'll be real estate agents and brokers showing up with armored cars at the loading dock of my office with as much, with the armored car filled with money, please, engage us first. Engage us first. Don't do business with others. We want you to engage us because we know we can make a ton of money if we only had these Matterport scans. It doesn't happen like that. It ain't like that. So if you're a geeky photographer and you want to run a little side business doing Matterport with some expectations that this is going to turn into a full-time business, I would discourage you. I just don't think you're a good candidate. And I know that you're not going to listen to me because you've already actually made the decision to buy a Matterport camera, and you've been reading everything in the forum, and you're in love with the technology, as I was in July, and still am actually, is in July of 2014, and so you're going to buy a camera. So I'm not sure that I can help you all that much, because I know that even if you engaged a pro and you watch the process, you're still likely to go buy the camera. And I also know, because this is not a real business for you, it's kind of like you have a full-time day job, and this is going to be something you're going to try and do on the side. You're watching every penny, and maybe you're going to buy a used camera, a Matterport camera. Maybe you're going to buy a used iPad. You have a tripod. It's not the right one for the camera, and so you're going to try and do it on the cheap just to see if you could do it. And I think you're going to struggle. I just think there's other ways to spend your money, but in any event, if if you make a decision and you buy a Matterport camera and you're a photography enthusiast and you're trying to figure out how to make a living here, I wish you luck and success, but I feel bad for you, because I would feel bad for me. You hear what I'm saying? If me today, August 23rd, 2017 was got a call from myself in July 2014, 3 years ago. Myself in the future telling myself in the past would be, don't do this. You're a photography enthusiast. You've fallen in love with the technology, and you really don't know anything about residential real estate, commercial real estate. Okay, now, 3 years, fast forward, okay, I read everything in the forum. That means I've read probably 40,000 posts among 5,000 topics, and so I'm only a subject matter expert because I've read everything else that everybody else writes in the forum, and, thank you for helping me. But, okay, I probably belabored that point enough. You've gotten my message. If you disagree with me, I hope you write in the forum and then tell me you bought the camera and then prove me wrong that you've become a huge success. And I'd be excited for you. So give me a moment for some more water. So if you're just tuning in, you're watching WGAN-TV. This is live at 5. We've premiered this week. Monday was the first day, and wouldn't you know, even yesterday we preempted for a live event when we did the Atlanta HoloLens meetup about the Microsoft new VR viewer, which I would imagine at some point Matterport will support. So that was kind of interesting to break from our regular programming already in our first week. But anyway, we're gonna be here live Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock Eastern time, hence live at 5. And thank you for tuning in. So today's topic happens to be, should I buy a Matterport camera? I've so far have gone through examples if I'm a real estate agent, if I'm a real estate broker, if I'm a professional photographer, if I'm a photography enthusiast. And I would say that probably the fifth category that I'd like to address is I hate my job, I hate my boss, I'm looking for something else to do. And I discovered this Matterport thing, and I want to do it full time. I just think I want to do it as a retirement. I want to do it as I just think I would find it fun, and so I can't wait to buy the camera. I've done all my research. I've looked at all the different kinds of gear, accessories. I've looked at other cameras. I've read everything in the forum, but I just want to check with you before I pull the trigger about buying the camera. And I would say I'm so glad that you called or emailed or texted me or sent up a smoke signal and asked, because I would say absolutely do not buy a Matterport camera. And I don't just mean Matterport. I mean any camera. It's just, this is, any 3D, 360, VR, Street View camera, I would feel really bad for you, because you're making a decision that perhaps sales, business development is not your thing, but the technology is, and falling in love with the technology is really always a bad idea. But I know you're determined. You're ready to pull the trigger. Maybe you even have just bought the camera and you were just curious what I had to say about whether I should buy a Matterport camera or not. And so here's my advice, because I know I'm already too late. With you, you're committed. You're in an unrelated business and you're committed to buying a camera, or you bought a camera. So I would ask you two questions to see if I could at least try to help you succeed. The first is, in whatever business or industry that you're presently in, does it involve spaces, places to scan? So do you already begin having trusted relationships with colleagues, with friends, with family that have existing spaces, that are interested, that would be interested in having the spaces scanned? If you do, that's at least one leg up in a very challenging decision that you're about to make. The second question I would ask you is, do you have friends, colleagues, and family that that would be happy to make introductions for you to companies, whether it's real estate agents or brokers or restaurants or event spaces or whatever it might be, that would be willing to make introductions, for you for spaces. And so I think I should pause a moment, because sometimes when I ask these two questions, interesting, what I hear back is, oh, I'm in the software business, I'm in IT. No, I don't know anybody that has any kind of space and that needs scanning. Nope, I don't know real estate agents. I don't know brokers. I don't have family members that are real estate agents or brokers. I don't have friends that have restaurants or event spaces or yachts or or airplanes or nope, nada. Everybody in my network is software related, IT related. Okay, so strike one. And then I ask, well, what about asking all your trusted friends and colleagues about providing introductions? Oh, I don't want to do that. I don't want to, ask. Well, if you want to quit your day job and do this full time, you're gonna need help, and you must ask family, friends, colleagues, whatever, for help getting introductions. So I think that's a must, and that would really be the second leg: is, are you willing to ask family, friends, colleagues to do introductions, trusted introductions, and would they do that for you? And the third leg of the stool is, what's your expertise that may give you a leg up on anyone else entering this business? And I think that's a legitimate question and a legitimate opportunity. So, for example, let's say that you work for an architect, or you work for a construction company, or you work for an engineer, or you work in a in some capacity where you have an expertise that you can leverage, where, for example, it may be that the Matterport Spaces 3D tour is not what a client necessarily wants in the engineering, construction, architecture space, that they may want the data. So for example, in the last 10 days, I scanned a business, a virtual reality agency here in Atlanta, and they actually had no interest in the Matterport Spaces 3D tour. All they wanted was the data so that they could import it into their CAD program and do modeling for a variety of reasons. Now, the fact that we've delivered the Matterport space, and they're going to end up putting it on their front page, of course, because it was like they were so blown away. And it's like, well, how could you not put this on the front page? But what they wanted was the data. And so if you actually understand things like object files and SketchUp files and CAD files and Revit and excuse me. So you may actually have a very specific expertise in a vertical that's completely unrelated to residential and commercial real estate, then I think that at least becomes interesting. But I certainly would say, absolutely do not quit your day job. Start out slowly. Don't jump in with both feet. Okay, which is opposite of what I did in July of 2014, and I did not have an expertise other than television and entertainment, and frankly, I still found it very difficult, talking with my posse of television and entertainment clients, because they're all in very large companies, and very large companies move at a glacial pace, and intellectual property is something that they actually understand, and they'll ask a lot of questions about copyright and ownership. And even if I go through 6 months of conversations to get to yes, then I'm down to questions with the business affairs team, asking about things that I may not be able to pass copyright. Of course, I have a copyright, but there's things that I can't pass forward in an expected way that they're used to in terms of all digital assets. Anyway, I digress. So anyway, trying to think. Gopher. It's not gopher. What a hedgehog. Something that pops up. Anyway, so the point is, if you have some very specific vertical that you're a specialist in, that the Matterport camera capture of the data, for example, will make a huge difference, then I feel better. I'm not sure I'm totally convinced, because as soon as somebody says, I don't like my job, I don't like my boss, that's the wrong reason to be jumping to Matterport. You want to jump to Matterport because you know that there's a way that you're going to make a living somehow, some way. And I think at this point, it's very probably helpful to know that personally, I don't believe there is any Matterport service provider in our community, in the We Get Around Network Forum community of 10,000 plus, who actually make a full-time living doing Matterport scans. I have to say that again, because you may actually be in disbelief, because you might think, oh, Matterport service provider, this is what people do. They do it for a living full time. No. They're a real estate agent. They're scanning their listings. They're a real estate broker. They're scanning their agents' listings and their listings. They're a real estate agent and broker, and they have an ancillary business on the side doing scanning for other agents and brokers, or non-competing agents and brokers, or they're a professional photographer, and it's incremental income for them. So none of those scenarios are these people that that need to make a full-time living with Matterport. So if you're thinking about quitting your day job and starting a Matterport service provider business, and this is what's going to be your full-time income, please don't do that, because I feel, again, I'd feel really bad, because you're going to give it your go. You're going to put everything that you have into making your business succeed, and you're going to be competing with other Matterport service providers that already have the camera, some of the expertise, have figured out pricing, have figured out their market. They understand real estate agents, they understand real estate brokers, and so you're going to be competing with people that understand, that come from either a professional photographer that has existing clients, or real estate agents and brokers that have listings and want to get more listings. So the incremental cost for them is the return on investment. And that sounds like a crazy calculator, because if I gave you a calculator, in fact, there is a calculator on the front page of the We Get Around Network Forum. Look for the four. One's a quiz, three are calculators. One of the calculators is how much money can I make as a Matterport service provider. And so I think you need to make some decisions, moving those sliders to decide, can I charge this much, and how many scans do I need to do, and what's the average square foot of each scan, and what is my revenue, and what are all my costs, and I think if you actually play with that calculator, you'll find that you're not going to be able to make a full-time living just doing Matterport. Anyway, in fact, if you're thinking about quitting your day job and becoming a full-time Matterport service provider and making a living, please post to the forum, or at least send me a private message, and I'll post. And you'll hear back crickets, that there is simply no one in the forum that's making a full-time living as a Matterport service provider business. This is an ancillary revenue for most of us. Now, there may be some larger companies that are trying to aggregate and pay some de minimis amount of money for people to scan, but that's not why you want to quit your day job to go work slightly above minimum wage under the direction of someone else. So anyway, please don't quit your day job. Please don't fall in love with the technology. I love Matterport. I love the camera, the technology, the platform. The future is so bright. Particularly when the APIs and SDKs get publicly released, when Street View kicks in, and we're able to shoot once and publish twice, and there's so many things to be excited about Matterport, but I just don't want you to The demand today is just not there. There's not an excess demand for Matterport. So, many of the We Get Around Network Forum, community members, wish it would be busier. We all wish that, Matterport would spend marketing on increasing the demand for Matterport rather than trying to sell you a camera for someone who wants to quit a day job and buy a camera and start a business. But really, okay, I've said it enough. You can't make a full-time living as a Matterport service provider. And there is no one in the We Get Around Network Forum community that is making a full-time living as a Matterport service provider and just providing Matterport. So, and if you are, please post to the forum and tell me I'm wrong. Anyway, that kind of covers it. If you're just tuning in, you've been watching WGAN-TV live at 5. Today's topic has been, should I buy a Matterport camera? We've gone through a number of scenarios, including I'm a real estate agent, I'm a real estate broker, I'm a professional photographer, I'm a photography enthusiast, I hate my day job, I hate my boss, I want to quit my job, and then I have a specialty in a particular vertical where the data is of interest. Anyway, we will publish this video back to the forum. So if you missed any portion of it and you want to go back and listen to it, that it'll be available to you. And so I thank you for tuning in to WGAN TV live at 5. Today from Atlanta, I'm Dan Smigrod, founder of the We Get Around Network Forum, and enjoy your rest of your day.